Everyone, whatever their political colour, promised change for the better, and broadly it hasn't worked. We are, per head, one of the poorest nations in Europe. If you take average London wages out of the picture, we are poorer per head than the poorest state in the USA. We are on track by 2030 to be poorer in this country per head than Poland. And you add to that the failed promises to control migration by the Conservative governments, the desperate state of much of the public sector, the inability of organisations designed to resist monopolies forming in utilities, for example, the inability of those organisations to resist monopolies forming in utilities. The British state owns very little. It is hugely reliant on overseas investment and sells off large chunks of it to pay, well, to the pension funds of international workers. The train ticket you just bought or the water bill you just paid is helping to make Canadian teachers and Singaporean workers better off. It is now harder to afford property than at any time since the turn of the 20th century. You have to earn, my favourite stat, you have to earn £54,000 a year. That is sort of more than 1.5 times the average wage to start paying back the debt, the capital of your student loan. You are having your wage taxed at levels not seen since rationing was still a thing. And the response from those in charge has not, and I would argue probably is not going to, turn the tide on this in the next 10 to 15 years. Now, it may be that this is just a fact of life, that whoever was in power and whoever is going to be in power would not be able to do much about all this at the speed that people are crying out for it to be done at. It would be the archetypal form of populism to say all of this can be sorted quickly and easily and thoroughly if only it were a stronger or more decisive leader or government in power or whatever. But I think a lot of people are now at the stage of thinking, well, that might be so, but how much worse can it really get? For how much longer is a technocratic incrementalism going to be tolerated, overseen by a state bureaucracy that is poorly incentivized and in some cases actually blocks change from happening? How much longer can that be allowed to go on for? It's all very well using the language of the tepid bath of managed decline or whatever, but do you honestly believe that these issues can be resolved by governing in the same manner as largely everything else that has gone before in the last 20 years? Because I worry about that, and I worry that it will lead to the type of political revolution that has happened in the United States, and it will happen here too, and you are starting to see that trend now come through. Reform has now polled top for the first time, beating Labour and the Conservatives. The numbers are tight, it's only one poll, but the direction of travel, even since the election, is pretty clear. So 2 questions for you. Who is it that is changing their mind about Nigel Farage's party? And why have you changed your mind about Nigel Farage's party?